This script embarks on a profound exploration of the internal battles that silently dictate the trajectory of our lives. We are not merely passive observers of our circumstances. Rather, we are architects of our reality, often unknowingly sabotaged by unseen forces within. The central premise revolves around understanding and dismantling the inner servant, a construct forged in the crucible of fear and sustained by the relentless pursuit of external validation. This internal entity, driven by a deep-seated need to please and conform, acts as an invisible chain, binding us to a cycle of hesitation and missed opportunities. It whispers doubts, magnifies perceived flaws, and paralyzes us with the fear of judgment, ensuring we remain within the confines of what is safe and expected, rather than venturing into the vast territory of our true potential. The script posits that this inner servant, while seemingly protective, is in fact the primary architect of our stagnation, preventing us from accessing a deeper, more authentic power. We will dissect the subtle mechanisms through which this internal conditioning operates, revealing how the fear of rejection, the craving for approval, and the habit of overthinking conspire to keep us from taking decisive action. The script's unique angle lies in its departure from conventional self-help narratives that focus solely on external strategies. Instead, it delves into the intricate psychology of self-sabotage, aiming to equip individuals with the awareness and tools to fundamentally reframe their internal landscape. It's about recognizing that the most significant obstacles are not external circumstances, but the internal narratives we perpetuate. The journey outlined here is not about acquiring new skills in the traditional sense, but about unlearning deeply ingrained patterns of thought and behavior that have been limiting our capacity for authentic self-expression and impactful action. We will uncover how this inner servant, though powerful, is ultimately a fragile construct, vulnerable to the light of conscious awareness and intentional redirection. The script promises a transformative experience, shifting the focus from external achievements to the internal foundation upon which true, sustainable success is built. It's an invitation to a deeper understanding of personal power, one that originates not from outward bravado, but from the quiet strength of self-possession and the courage to act in alignment with one's inner truth, even when that truth is imperfectly expressed. This is not about becoming someone else, but about excavating and amplifying the most potent version of oneself, a version that has been obscured by the very conditioning we are about to unpack. The narrative will guide the reader through a process of self-discovery, illuminating the path from a state of passive compliance to one of active, empowered creation. The core problem this script addresses is the pervasive paralysis stemming from an over-reliance on external validation and an underdeveloped sense of internal certainty. Many individuals find themselves caught in a loop of analysis, endlessly weighing options, seeking consensus, and fearing missteps, all because their sense of worth and direction is tethered to the opinions of others. This inner servant, as we've termed it, thrives on this dependency, ensuring that any action taken is carefully curated to elicit approval, thereby reinforcing its own existence. The script will delve into the anatomy of this phenomenon, revealing how it manifests in various aspects of life, from career choices and personal relationships to creative endeavors and everyday decision-making. It's the reason brilliant ideas remain unrealized, the fear of imperfect execution overshadowing the potential impact. It's the hesitation before speaking up in a meeting, the second-guessing of a potentially life-changing decision, the avoidance of vulnerability for fear of appearing weak. This internal dynamic creates a chasm between our aspirations and our actualization, leaving us feeling frustrated, unfulfilled, and perpetually stuck. The script's unique contribution is its focus on cultivating a Machiavellian confidence, a subtle yet powerful form of self-assurance that is rooted in internal conviction rather than external accolades. This is not about arrogance or a disregard for others, but about developing a quiet, unshakable certainty in one's own judgment and capabilities, independent of external feedback. It's the understanding that true power lies not in demanding attention, but in possessing an inner compass that guides action, even when the path is unclear or the outcome uncertain. This inner certainty allows for imperfect action, recognizing that progress, not perfection, is the ultimate goal. The script will challenge the common misconception that confidence is a trait one either possesses or lacks, presenting it instead as a skill that can be intentionally cultivated through specific internal practices and a reframing of one's relationship with self and the world. We will explore how this internal certainty acts as a shield against the debilitating effects of criticism and rejection, transforming them from personal attacks into mere data points for growth. The ultimate aim is to empower individuals to transition from being reactive beings, constantly seeking external cues, to proactive creators, shaping their reality from an unshakable internal foundation. This script is designed to be a catalyst for this profound internal shift, offering a roadmap to reclaim agency and unlock latent potential by mastering the art of self-reliance and authentic action. The narrative of this script is deeply rooted in the internal landscape of the individual, but its practical implications are felt across every external facet of life. The journey we are embarking on is one of profound personal transformation, aiming to dismantle the invisible structures of fear and self-doubt that inhibit our potential. At its heart, this is an exploration of how the inner servant, a construct born from a primal need for safety and a deep-seated fear of rejection, can inadvertently become the greatest impediment to our growth and fulfillment. This internal entity, perpetually seeking validation from external sources, cultivates a state of hesitation, analysis paralysis, and an overemphasis on perceived flaws, effectively chaining us to a cycle of unexpressed potential. The script's distinct contribution lies in its dissection of this internal dynamic, offering a nuanced understanding of how genuine power emanates not from outward displays of confidence or the accumulation of external approval, but from an unshakable inner certainty. This is the essence of Machiavellian confidence, a strategic self-assurance that prioritizes internal conviction over external noise, recognizing that true influence is built upon a foundation of self-possession and disciplined action rather than a desperate need for affirmation. We will delve into the subtle art of calculated silence, transforming pauses in conversation or moments of contemplation into potent tools for narrative control and strategic influence, rather than signs of uncertainty or indecision. This script will guide you in understanding the power of selective indifference, learning to discern which external opinions truly matter and which can be safely disregarded, thereby protecting your precious emotional and mental energy from unnecessary drain. A key tenet explored is the reframing of rejection, not as a personal indictment or a catastrophic failure, but as valuable feedback, data that can inform and refine your path forward rather than a reason to retreat. This perspective shift is crucial for breaking free from the debilitating fear of judgment that so often paralyzes action. Furthermore, we will unpack the paradoxical truth that the less you need external validation or specific outcomes, the more attractive and influential you become. This principle highlights that genuine power and magnetism arise from a place of self-sufficiency and inner alignment. The ultimate objective is to cultivate a profound sense of freedom. The freedom that comes from recognizing that your reality is a malleable construct, shaped by your internal state and your willingness to act with unwavering purpose, even in the face of imperfection. This script serves as an incisive guide to this internal revolution, prompting a critical question of self-identity. Are you content to be a pawn, moved by external forces and internal fears, or are you ready to embrace your role as the master strategist, the player who shapes the game? The transformation begins with this conscious choice. The script's foundational concept is the identification and subsequent dismantling of the inner servant, a psychological construct that dictates much of our passive behavior and inaction. This entity, born from early developmental experiences and reinforced by societal pressures, thrives on external validation and operates on a bedrock of fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. Its primary function is to maintain a state of perceived safety by adhering to established norms, avoiding risks, and seeking approval from authority figures or peer groups. This results in a pervasive sense of hesitation, where individuals overanalyze situations, procrastinate on decisions, and shy away from opportunities that might expose them to potential criticism or rejection. The script aims to illuminate this internal mechanism with stark clarity, demonstrating how this subservient mindset, while seemingly protective, ultimately stifles personal growth, limits potential, and breeds a deep-seated dissatisfaction. It's the invisible hand that guides us away from our authentic desires and towards a path of comfortable conformity. The crucial distinction this script offers is the exploration of Machiavellian confidence. This is not about ostentatious displays of ego or aggressive self-promotion, but about a sophisticated internal certainty that allows for decisive action regardless of external affirmation. It's the quiet assurance that stems from a deep understanding of one's own values, capabilities, and intentions. This form of confidence recognizes that perfection is an illusion and that imperfect yet decisive action is infinitely more powerful than flawless inaction. The script will illuminate how this internal locus of control allows individuals to navigate challenges with strategic grace, using hesitation not as a sign of weakness, but as a tool for calculated assessment and deliberate response. This involves mastering the art of silence, understanding that pauses can convey strength, authority, and thoughtfulness, allowing others to fill the void with their own assumptions, often to one's advantage. It's about using silence to control the narrative and to exert influence without uttering a word. Furthermore, the script emphasizes the power of selective indifference, the ability to consciously choose which external feedback or opinions warrant attention and which can be safely disregarded. This strategic detachment protects one's emotional energy, preventing the corrosive effects of seeking constant approval or being overly influenced by the judgments of others. By cultivating this indifference, individuals can maintain their focus on their own objectives and inner compass, unswayed by the cacophony of external noise. The script will also reframe the concept of rejection, advocating for its interpretation as valuable data rather than a personal affront. This shift in perspective allows individuals to learn from setbacks, adapt their strategies, and move forward with resilience, rather than becoming demoralized or retreating into fear. It's about understanding that rejection is an inherent part of any ambitious pursuit, and that its impact is determined by one's internal response. The core message is that true power is an inside job, built on character, discipline, and the courage to act authentically, even when it is difficult or unpopular. This script is designed to be a catalyst for this internal revolution, prompting a fundamental question about one's role in their own life. Are you prepared to be the player who dictates the moves, or will you remain a piece on someone else's board, dictated by the unseen forces of fear and external validation? The script's core objective is to guide individuals away from the paralyzing grip of the inner servant and towards the cultivation of authentic self-assurance and decisive action. This internal servant, driven by fear and the incessant need for external validation, fosters a state of perpetual hesitation and analysis paralysis. It whispers doubts, magnifies potential negative outcomes, and inhibits the willingness to act without guaranteed approval. The script's unique contribution is its focus on developing what can be termed Machiavellian confidence, a strategic internal certainty that allows for purposeful action independent of external affirmation. This isn't about arrogance or a lack of consideration for others. Rather, it is about building an unshakable inner foundation of self-trust and conviction. This allows for the embrace of imperfect action, recognizing that progress, not perfection, is the ultimate goal. The script delves into the subtle art of calculated silence, positioning pauses not as indicators of uncertainty, but as potent tools for strategic influence and narrative control. These silences can create space for reflection, allow others to project their own interpretations, and ultimately grant the individual greater command over interactions. This deliberate use of quietude is a powerful counterpoint to the often noisy pursuit of external validation. Furthermore, the script champions the concept of selective indifference. This involves developing the discernment to identify which external opinions and feedback are truly valuable for growth, and which are merely noise that can distract from one's authentic path. By consciously choosing what external input to engage with, individuals can protect their mental and emotional energy, preventing the drain that comes from constantly seeking or reacting to the approval or disapproval of others. This cultivated detachment is crucial for maintaining focus and internal equilibrium. A pivotal element explored is the redefinition of rejection. Instead of viewing it as a catastrophic personal failure or an indictment of one's worth, the script advocates for interpreting rejection as data, information that can be used to refine strategies, adjust approaches, and learn valuable lessons. This reframing transforms setbacks from demoralizing experiences into opportunities for growth and adaptation, thereby diminishing their power to inhibit action. The script also highlights a profound paradox. The less one needs external validation or specific outcomes, the more magnetic and influential they become. Genuine power, it suggests, emanates from a place of self-sufficiency and inner alignment, attracting opportunities and respect organically. The ultimate aim is to foster a sense of profound freedom, the freedom that arises from the understanding that one's reality is not dictated by external forces, but shaped by internal conviction and the courage to act. This freedom is built upon a foundation of character and discipline, allowing individuals to navigate life with agency and purpose. The script concludes by posing a critical question that encapsulates this transformative journey. In the grand game of life, will you be a passive piece moved by external forces and internal fears? Or will you embrace your role as the active player, strategically shaping the board and influencing the outcome? This script serves as the initial blueprint for that empowerment, marking the beginning of a profound shift in self-perception and action. The script's narrative centers on the profound internal shift required to transcend the limitations imposed by the inner servant, a psychological construct deeply ingrained through a fear of judgment and a reliance on external validation. This internal entity fosters hesitation, analysis paralysis, and a reluctance to act decisively, effectively trapping individuals in a cycle of unfulfilled potential. The script's unique contribution lies in its detailed exploration of how to cultivate Machiavellian confidence, a form of self-assurance rooted in internal certainty rather than external approval. This is not about overt arrogance, but about developing a quiet, unshakable conviction in one's own judgment and capabilities. This internal strength allows for the embrace of imperfect action, understanding that progress, not flawlessness, is the true measure of success. The script meticulously dissects the power of calculated silence, positioning pauses not as indicators of weakness or indecision, but as strategic tools for narrative control and influence. These silences can amplify messages, allow for thoughtful consideration, and even enable others to project their own interpretations, often to the speaker's advantage. This deliberate use of quietude is presented as a potent countermeasure to the constant clamor for external attention. Furthermore, the script introduces the concept of selective indifference, advocating for the development of discernment in choosing which external feedback and opinions warrant attention. By consciously deciding which opinions to engage with, individuals can protect their mental and emotional energy, preventing the debilitating effects of constantly seeking or reacting to the approval or disapproval of others. This cultivated detachment is essential for maintaining focus on one's authentic path and internal compass. A pivotal aspect of the script is its redefinition of rejection. Rather than perceiving rejection as a personal failure or an indictment of one's worth, the script encourages its interpretation as valuable data. This perspective shift transforms setbacks into learning opportunities, allowing individuals to adapt their strategies and move forward with resilience rather than succumbing to fear or self-doubt. The script also delves into a significant paradox. The less one needs external validation or specific outcomes, the more magnetic and influential they inherently become. True power, it posits, originates from a state of self-sufficiency and inner alignment, naturally attracting opportunities and respect. The ultimate goal is to foster a profound sense of freedom, the liberation that comes from understanding that one's reality is not dictated by external circumstances or the opinions of others, but is actively shaped by internal conviction and the courage to act authentically. This freedom is built upon a foundation of character and discipline, enabling individuals to navigate life with agency and purpose. The script culminates by posing a fundamental question that encapsulates this transformative journey. In the intricate dynamics of life, will you remain a passive piece, subject to the movements of external forces and internal anxieties, or will you embrace your role as the active player, strategically charting your course and influencing the very fabric of your reality? This script serves as the initial guide for that profound internal revolution, marking the beginning of a fundamental shift in self-perception and the capacity for impactful action. The script's core proposition is to unravel the pervasive influence of the inner servant, a psychological construct that thrives on fear and the relentless pursuit of external validation, ultimately leading to hesitation and inaction. This internal mechanism, deeply ingrained through societal conditioning and personal experiences, fosters an environment where perceived judgment dictates behavior, stifling authentic expression and decisive action. The script's unique contribution lies in its detailed examination of how to cultivate Machiavellian confidence, a strategic internal certainty that empowers individuals to act decisively, independent of external affirmation. This is not about fostering arrogance, but about building an unshakable inner foundation of self-trust and conviction, enabling the embrace of imperfect action as a catalyst for progress. The narrative delves into the nuanced power of calculated silence, positioning pauses not as signs of uncertainty, but as potent tools for narrative control and strategic influence. These deliberate silences can create space for reflection, allow for the projection of authority, and enable individuals to manage the flow of information and interaction with greater efficacy. This mastery of quietude serves as a powerful counterbalance to the often noisy quest for external validation. Furthermore, the script champions the principle of selective indifference, which involves developing the crucial discernment to identify which external feedback and opinions are genuinely valuable for growth and which constitute mere noise that can derail one's authentic trajectory. By consciously choosing what external input to engage with, individuals can safeguard their mental and emotional energy, mitigating the debilitating effects of constantly seeking or reacting to the approval or disapproval of others. This cultivated detachment is vital for maintaining focus and internal equilibrium. A pivotal element explored is the redefinition of rejection. Instead of perceiving rejection as a catastrophic personal failure or an indictment of one's inherent worth, the script advocates for its interpretation as valuable data, information that can inform and refine strategies, enabling adaptation and resilience. This reframing transforms setbacks from demoralizing experiences into crucial learning opportunities, diminishing their power to inhibit future action. The script also illuminates a profound paradox. The less one needs external validation or specific outcomes, the more magnetic and influential they organically become. True power, it suggests, emanates from a state of self-sufficiency and inner alignment, naturally attracting opportunities and respect. The ultimate objective is to foster a profound sense of freedom, the liberation that arises from understanding that one's reality is not dictated by external circumstances or the opinions of others, but is actively shaped by internal conviction and the courage to act authentically. This freedom is intrinsically linked to character and discipline, empowering individuals to navigate life with agency and purpose. The script culminates by posing a fundamental question that encapsulates this transformative journey. In the intricate dynamics of life, will you remain a passive piece, subject to the movements of external forces and internal anxieties, or will you embrace your role as the active player, strategically charting your course and influencing the very fabric of your reality? This script offers the initial framework for that profound internal revolution, marking the beginning of a fundamental shift in self-perception and the capacity for impactful action. Consider the subtle yet potent art of imperfect action as the antidote to the paralyzing grip of overthinking. This isn't about embracing sloppiness or a lack of diligence. Rather, it's about recognizing that the pursuit of absolute perfection often serves as a sophisticated form of self-sabotage. When the inner servant dictates that an action must be flawless before it can be initiated, the result is stagnation. Think of the budding entrepreneur who endlessly refines a business plan, tweaking projections and market analyses to the point where the opportune moment has passed. Or the artist who abandons a promising canvas because the initial brushstrokes aren't exactly as envisioned. The script advocates for a paradigm shift, initiating with what is available, however incomplete, and iterating based on real-world feedback. This iterative process, akin to a sculptor chipping away at stone, allows for continuous refinement while ensuring forward momentum. Now consider how this applies when you face a challenging conversation. Instead of rehearsing every possible response and counter-response until the natural flow is lost, initiate the dialogue with your core point, allowing the conversation to unfold organically. The initial words might not be perfectly phrased, but they open the door for genuine exchange and adaptation, a far more effective strategy than remaining silent for fear of saying the wrong thing. Consequently, this approach builds resilience, demonstrating to yourself that you can navigate uncertainty and recover from minor missteps, thereby weakening the inner servant's hold. Building on this, the script introduces the concept of strategic indifference as a critical tool for safeguarding one's emotional and mental energy. This isn't about becoming apathetic or uncaring, but about developing a discerning filter for external opinions and feedback. Many individuals, caught in the grip of their inner servant, unconsciously absorb every piece of criticism, every casual comment, and every perceived slight, allowing these external inputs to dictate their self-worth and future actions. This constant absorption of potentially irrelevant or even malicious feedback drains vital energy reserves, leaving little capacity for focused, authentic action. Strategic indifference involves consciously identifying which external inputs are genuinely constructive and aligned with one's goals, and which are simply noise, the product of others' own insecurities, biases, or agendas. Consider a scenario where a project receives mixed reviews. Instead of becoming consumed by the negative feedback, the individual practicing strategic indifference would analyze the constructive criticisms for actionable insights while consciously letting go of the subjective or unhelpful commentary. This selective engagement protects one's internal state, allowing for continued progress without the debilitating weight of external judgment. Consequently, this practice liberates mental bandwidth, enabling deeper focus on essential tasks and reinforcing the sense of internal control. Conversely, the script highlights the paradoxical power of needing less to attract more. This principle operates on a fundamental energetic level. When an individual's actions are driven by a desperate need for external validation, a sense of lack or dependency permeates their energy field. This scarcity mindset, while often unconscious, can be subtly perceived by others, creating an energetic barrier that repels rather than attracts opportunities and genuine connection. Think of a job seeker who appears overly eager, projecting an aura of desperation. They might inadvertently signal a lack of confidence or a willingness to compromise core values for the sake of securing the position. Conversely, an individual who demonstrates genuine passion, competence, and a clear sense of purpose, independent of the immediate outcome, projects an energetic abundance. They are not seeking validation. They are offering value. This intrinsic self-possession, this subtle detachment from the outcome, creates a powerful magnetism. When you are less concerned with what others think of your work and more focused on the intrinsic value and integrity of the work itself, you naturally become more attractive to opportunities and genuine collaborators. This shift from a scarcity-driven mindset to one of abundance, fueled by self-reliance, is a cornerstone of reclaiming personal power. It's about understanding that genuine influence stems not from a plea for acceptance, but from a confident offering of one's authentic self and capabilities. Another crucial layer involves reframing rejection not as a personal indictment, but as valuable data for strategic recalibration. The inner servant often amplifies rejection, transforming a specific setback into a sweeping judgment of one's entire being. This catastrophic interpretation fuels the fear of future attempts, reinforcing the cycle of inaction. The script proposes a more pragmatic and empowering perspective, viewing rejection as feedback. Consider a salesperson whose proposal is declined. Instead of internalizing this as a reflection of their inadequacy, they can analyze the reasons for the rejection. Was the proposal misaligned with the client's needs? Was the presentation unclear? Was the pricing structure off? By dissecting the rejection as data, the salesperson can refine their approach for the next interaction, learning from the experience rather than being defeated by it. This analytical reframing demystifies the process and reduces the emotional sting associated with failure. Consequently, it builds resilience and a more adaptive, growth-oriented mindset. This approach empowers individuals to experiment, to try new strategies, and to persist in the face of obstacles, knowing that each perceived failure is simply a step in the learning process, offering insights that will ultimately contribute to greater success. The fear of rejection loses its potency when viewed through this lens of objective analysis and continuous improvement. As we navigate through the intricate landscape of internal influence, a powerful convergence of concepts begins to illuminate the path toward a more empowered existence. The subtle yet pervasive architecture of self-limitation, painstakingly detailed, reveals a common origin point: the deep-seated conditioning that prioritizes external validation over intrinsic conviction. This foundational understanding, once grasped, shifts the very lens through which we perceive our interactions and decisions. It's akin to adjusting a finely tuned instrument. Suddenly, the discordant notes of hesitation and self-doubt recede, allowing a clearer, more resonant frequency of authentic action to emerge. The exploration of Machiavellian confidence, not as an act of outward bravado but as a cultivated inner certainty, underscores the strategic advantage of self-reliance. This internal fortitude acts as a ballast, stabilizing us against the turbulent winds of external opinion and allowing for a more deliberate navigation of life's complexities. The emphasis on imperfect action, then, becomes not a concession to mediocrity, but a pragmatic acknowledgement that forward motion, however imperfectly executed, is the essential catalyst for growth and refinement. It's the difference between waiting for the perfect wave and learning to surf the currents as they appear. Reflecting on this journey so far, we can discern how the mastery of silence and the practice of selective indifference contribute to this emerging paradigm of self-possession. These are not mere passive techniques, but active strategies for curating our internal environment and external interactions. The calculated pause, far from signaling uncertainty, can become a powerful assertion of presence and control, allowing for thoughtful engagement rather than reactive pronouncements. Similarly, the conscious choice to disregard extraneous external noise protects the vital energy required for sustained, authentic effort. This discerning approach to information and influence is akin to a gardener carefully tending to their plot, weeding out distractions to allow the most vital elements to flourish. It's about recognizing that our internal resources are finite and must be allocated with strategic intent. As these interwoven threads of insight coalesce, the implications for personal agency become increasingly profound, suggesting a fundamental reorientation of our relationship with challenge and opportunity. The cumulative effect of these principles is the gradual dissolution of the perceived barriers that have long confined our potential. By reframing rejection as data and understanding the paradoxical power of needing less, we dismantle the very foundations upon which the inner servant builds its fortress of fear. This process is not about eradicating fear entirely, an unrealistic and ultimately counterproductive endeavor, but about diminishing its authority, recalibrating our response to it, and shifting our locus of control firmly inward. The journey from a state of reactive compliance to proactive creation is marked by these subtle yet transformative shifts in perspective and practice. It's as if a complex internal compass, long miscalibrated by external signals, is being meticulously adjusted, recalibrating towards a true north of self-determined purpose. As we pivot towards the final reflection, the clarity of this redefined internal landscape offers a compelling glimpse into the ultimate liberation that awaits. The culmination of this exploration reveals a singular, potent truth. True power is not an external acquisition, but an internal reclamation. We have meticulously dissected the invisible chains of the inner servant, that construct of fear and validation seeking that has subtly dictated our actions, often leading us down paths of hesitation and unfulfilled potential. The journey has illuminated the strategic brilliance of cultivating an unshakable inner certainty, a Machiavellian confidence that is impervious to the fluctuating tides of external opinion. This is the quiet strength that allows for imperfect action, transforming paralysis into progress and doubt into decisive movement. It's about recognizing that the most impactful narratives are often written in the spaces between words, in the deliberate pauses that convey presence and command. The power of selective indifference, too, emerges not as an act of detachment, but as a vital form of self-preservation, a conscious redirection of precious energy towards what truly serves our authentic path. By filtering the cacophony of external noise, we amplify the clarity of our internal compass. Reinterpreting rejection as data rather than drama fundamentally alters our relationship with setbacks. Each perceived failure becomes a lesson, a stepping stone, rather than a definitive judgment. This recalibration dismantles the fear that paralyzes so many, fostering a resilience that allows for persistent, iterative progress. The paradox of needing less to attract more then unfolds with striking clarity. As our reliance shifts inward, as our drive becomes intrinsic rather than extrinsic, our capacity to influence and attract genuine opportunities expands exponentially. This isn't about manipulation. It's about aligning our internal state with our external actions, creating a magnetic field of authenticity that draws aligned experiences and individuals towards us. The freedom that blossoms from this self-possession is the ultimate reward, a liberation from the anxieties of judgment and the constraints of conditional worth. It's the realization that our reality is not a fixed destination, but a dynamic landscape we actively shape through our internal choices and external actions. The ultimate insight is that character, forged in the crucible of self-awareness and disciplined action, is the bedrock upon which this lasting freedom is built. It is the quiet strength of integrity, the unwavering commitment to one's own internal truth that truly dictates the trajectory of our lives. The external world, with all its perceived power, is merely a reflection of our internal state. When that internal state is one of empowered self-reliance, clarity of purpose, and courageous action, the external landscape transforms accordingly. The battle is not against external forces, but within the intricate architecture of our own minds. To win this most crucial of contests is to recognize that the power to shape reality resides not in commanding attention, but in mastering oneself. The true practice begins now, in the quiet moments of decision, in the willingness to act despite imperfection, and in the unwavering commitment to the authentic self. The choice ultimately is yours, to remain a piece on the board, moved by unseen forces, or to become the player, orchestrating your own destiny with deliberate, powerful intent.